If you look at what's happening right now in America with the Department of Government Efficiency, and that's a political football, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to streamline the decision making and remove unnecessary bureaucracy. I find a lot of organizations fall into that same trap with the safety mindset. They fall into the mindset that more is better. And more isn't always better. Better is better. So sometimes when you look at strategically, how do we advance the conversation, the culture, the performance and safety, sometimes the answer is what do we need to stop doing? What are we doing that's non-value added? What are we doing? In lean, there's a process called value stream mapping. So you look at a particular process and you say, what adds value? And then those are the components you write down. Then what doesn't add value but is necessary? Maybe it's regulatory reasons. And what doesn't add value that we can stop doing? And even going in and having those conversations around what are we doing that makes it difficult to accomplish our objectives? What are we doing that may even seem dumb from a safety standpoint? And again, some of it we may have to do these things. So part of it is understanding a day in the life of the foreman. And sometimes leaders, all with great intention, can rise up in an organization, even maybe coming from that role, and they forget about what the day to day realities are of that foreman. And sometimes, well, the reality is what we've put on administratively on the foreman has been increasing over the past several years, decades, if you will. So the foreman whose primary responsibility is to be out there leading, making decisions, coaching their people, etc., they get so far removed from that because they have to sit in the truck or they have to fill out paperwork. So sometimes we have to look at, are there some things that we can stop doing that is making it difficult or demotivating our ability to be successful with this job, safety being one of that, performing, keeping performance where it needs to be for profit, all of that. So that's the first thing I would look at. The second thing is you're wise to identify the criticality of foremen, because I have found, regardless of industry, in over 2 decades doing this, the most important people to shape performance and culture in any area of operations are the first line supervisors, the foremen. Yet they are also the most undertrained, under resourced, underutilized individual in our organization. So we're not doing a good job setting them up for success. And part of the way of setting them up for success is what I call maturing the safety thinking. We have to help them think more advanced about things because all progress begins by thinking differently. So we have to help our leaders think differently about this. But you're right, it's the balance, and it always will be about how do we make sure we're still hitting our profitability safely. So it's combining those two. And some companies actually call it safe productions, safe activities. So safety is not something else we're doing. And if it is something else we're doing and it's non-value added, is there something that we can stop doing? So the more we can understand a day in the life of what those foremen are experiencing, and the more that we can continuously educate them and have accountability conversations around what we're trying to accomplish. To me, accountability is making sure people are doing the things necessary to produce the results before checking to see how did things turn out. So if we're not holding people accountable throughout the day, we shouldn't hold them accountable at the end of the project. But when I look at it and say, if we're not getting the performance we want out of foremen, it usually falls into 5 areas. One is they're unwilling to do the things we need them to do. And sometimes deselection might be the only answer there if somebody's unwilling to be the leader, but usually that's few and far between. The next one is they're unaware. We haven't really sat down and said, these are your most important roles, responsibilities, and results from a safety standpoint. So we haven't made them aware. The next is they're unable. I mentioned coaching. We want our leaders to be great coaches, but we've never taught them skills about how to have those conversations, what to observe, how to give feedback. The fourth one is that they're unaccountable. We're not having those accountability conversations. That what can we do to accomplish this project safely? And back to the principles approach to it. The principle is we don't want to put anybody unnecessarily in harm's way, but there's always going to be risk that we're facing on a job site. So sometimes have that conversation around what do you, Mr. or Ms. Foreman, view as acceptable risk and what do you view as unacceptable risk? Because sometimes that alignment isn't there with how people at your level may perceive what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. Because the mindset of we won't do it if it's not safe can work against a leadership team if we haven't defined, well, what does safe mean? Because safe doesn't just mean free from all risk. Safe means that we're aware of the risks. We know what precautions to take when facing those risks, and we're regularly taking those precautions. So we have to get people aligned with, it's not a matter of stop or pause the job if you feel unsafe, because people could stop walking because I can't necessarily see that it's snow on the ground, so I'm not going to walk then. So it's that balance of what are we trying to accomplish, still maintaining the healthy reporting and the speak up culture that if it doesn't feel right, trust your gut and let's work that out. But we also have a business that we have to run here. So sometimes that goes into not pursuing certain types of work where feasible. But if we just have that short term mindset, then we're going to become very fixated on the task at hand. And that's when low probability risk tends to climb in, which flies under the radar of common sense and experience, because we're so focused on that task and the pressure to get it done that day that we are not paying attention to keeping our head on a swivel. So really, in summary, without meandering too much off topic here, it's getting aligned with our foreman about what they're actually facing. Are we doing things that make it difficult to accomplish the both priorities of profit and safety, but developing the comfort level within the supervisors and the skills and the know of what to look for and when to speak up if we might be putting people in harm's way. It goes back to, we have to, we want to be a successful business. Performing our work safely is part of that success, and making sure that they know that it's okay to call a pause if we don't feel that we're going to be able to accomplish these things. But to me, it comes back to maintaining the mindset within our foremen that they are a leader out there in the field. And this is how we expect our leadership to behave. And too often we'll find that the foreman views themselves more of an extension of the workforce than an extension of management and the leadership team. So the more that we can involve them into company decisions, and this is why we make these decisions, the more that they can see our intent as leaders, not just see our actions. And Deming taught a long time ago, the father of quality, Dr. W. Edwards Deming, that people support what they help to create. And if you really want to engage the foreman, they have to feel as though that they have a voice in how decisions are being made in the field. And we have to constantly be checking in. Are the decisions they're making aligned with who we are as an organization? Not be so quick to beat them up if they make the wrong decision, because they too will make mistakes, but to be able to have those frequent check-ins to talk me through why you're approaching the job this way, talk me through why you made this decision, to help so we can monitor how they're making their decisions and how they're executing in the field.